Hello, welcome to yet another wonderful episode of Wild Wisdom Podcast. I am your curious carbuncle, Peter Stockbridge, and we're here talking about Batman, the legendary superhero who had kind of probably shares his origins with Superman in some certain ways. Started off as a comic book character and made its way to the screen with the famous Burt Ward and who's the other dude? Adam West. So we're going to just sort of briefly go through all the movie versions of Batman, what we think of them. We're going to be brutally honest, and
you're going to be brutally honest?
I'm going to be brutally. I don't know about you lot, but I certainly am going to be. All right, so we're going to kick off with the 60s Batman. I know that he does exist in some sort of media other than comic books before the 60s, but we're just going to jump right in.
We'll go with what we've seen.
Yes. So, yes, Adam West and Burt Ward.
Well, yeah, this is coming on the back of the highly popular TV show. Yeah, the film was quite a big thing to do a film from a TV show in those days. It was not the usual done thing, but no. I think the huge success of the TV show, they didn't throw tons of money at it, but they threw a little bit more money than they would at the TV show. Thus, they were able to have 4 villains instead of the usual one. In this case, the Joker, Penguin, the Riddler, and Catwoman. And a few more accessories other than the Batmobile. You had the Batcopter.
Shark repellent spray.
Yeah. Very comes in very handy.
Bat condom.
Yeah. Safety first, Batman. Holy HIV, Batman.
The movie was, I guess in its own right.
Well, the movie for me is just bags of fun. It's because the show never took itself seriously.
Not at all, especially when you got people selling nuclear submarines to people who don't even leave their addresses.
Yes, exactly. It's very tongue-in-cheek. It's very highly stylized. The colours are extremely bright, and the Dutch angles and stuff. The music, the famous Batman theme, it's not very used that much. It's used in a couple of times, but the main music's sort of done by Nelson Riddle, who did a lot of work with Frank Sinatra and all that. So it had this kind of big band swing style music to it, which lent to the larger than life antics appearing on screen. There's so many things to pick out in this film.
Let's debunk something, or whatever. Were they sexually promiscuous? The two actors.
In real life, or as the characters?
Well,
the stories of them swooning in their robes.
Yeah, they spent a lot of downtime due to the highly successful nature of the show. They had a
perpetual harem of
of girls. They throw themselves at them. As Burt Ward says, he literally spent all their spare time undressed in some state. So yeah,
various states of inebriation.
Yeah, that's how it was, I suppose, in those days.
I suppose it was the swinging 60s. So
exactly, yeah.
Emphasis on swinging.
Yeah,
there's a lot of guest stars in the TV series, weren't there, that appeared?
Oh, plenty of guest stars. You had the likes of Bruce Lee turning up as Kato from the Green Hornet.
Oh, they crossover.
Yeah, the little crossover thing. I think John Astin from the Addams Family. He played the Riddler for a couple of episodes.
Yeah, he took over.
He filled in for Frank Gorshin, who was prominent in the role.
He was elsewhere. Yeah, he's great. I like Frank Gorshin.
Yeah. You had Eartha Kitt turn up as Catwoman.
Yes, there's a few Catwomen actually, wasn't there?
Different what?
Actresses, playing the Catwoman.
Lee Merriweather was the main one.
She wasn't the main one. Julie Newmar.
Julie Newmar was the one. Yes, that's right. Yes.
She should have been in the feature film and was unable to do it. So it was Lee Merriweather playing the Catwoman and Miss Kitcar.
That's it. Plus you had Roddy McDowall. He turned up as a villain Bookworm.
He was the Bookworm. He was very good. He had a great little sort of theme tune and his sort of leather jacket.
Jerry Lewis turned up for one of the window gags.
Yeah.
When they're climbing up, there's the famous gag they do when they're climbing up a wall, having a little chat about the current situation they're in, and obviously someone would open up a window, stick their head out, and go, "Well,
someone's famous."
And always be a famous face. Yeah. I think Dick Clark was one of them.
Yeah, Sammy Davis Jr. did one.
I believe he did. Joan Collins turns up in an episode, playing a character called the Siren.
I remember Vincent Price played Egghead.
Egghead, yes, that's correct. Yes, he did.
That was a good one.
Liberace was in an episode.
Oh God.
Was he?
Liberace turned up in one.
Fabulous.
Shelley Winters.
Yeah.
Who was also in. She was in the Poseidon Adventure. Was she?
She was.
She was Grandpa Joe's. No.
Yeah, she's married in the Poseidon Adventure.
She's married to Grandpa Joe, Robert Jack Albertson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Zsa Zsa Gabor.
Oh God.
Turned up in there.
Yeah. And Frank Sinatra.
Yeah, Frank Sinatra's turned up.
Jeez, there's a lot of them in there.
So it goes to show the massive popularity of the show.
Yeah.
And then it's a no-brainer to make a feature film.
Yeah, it's like a Bond thing, really. And if you're in a Batman episode,
it's a big thing.
Big thing.
I guess it's probably nearly 10, 20 years later.
Yeah, throughout the 70s and 80s, they did try and push the Batman again. After the TV show sort of ended, they had a big success with Superman, the feature film. And immediately they thought, well, let's try Batman again. But there was all kinds of rights issues and script problems and, trying to find the tone. The original creators of Bob Kane and Bill Finger, they wanted to kind of bring it back to its roots. The original Batman was little bit darker and more of a detective sort of character.
Very noir.
Yeah, the noir aspect of it, and they wanted to return to that. And then as the 80s went on, it ultimately evolved into the famous Tim Burton film, which is just called Batman, and
so this
my
is
personal favourite of them all.
We'll go into more depth with this film when we come to the actual episode of our 80s series. But this is Tim Burton's first directing job.
No,
isn't it?
No, he did Beetlejuice before that.
And before that, he did Pee Wee Herman.
Oh Christ!
This
me
is
thinking that it was his
probably
first.
Tim Burton's biggest film in terms of budget.
And massive. I think the success of Beetlejuice, and that was a Warner Brothers film, and that gave him a lot of clout to pursue that kind of eccentricness.
And I think he was hard set on using Keaton because he obviously worked with him in the Beetlejuice.
He just worked with Keaton and Beetlejuice, and at the time, and Michael Keaton has subsequently said, there was a tremendous backlash of him being chosen for
the producers didn't
he'd only done sort of comedic roles at that point, Mr. Mum and Night Moves and all these sort of films. He in Beetlejuice, obviously the main one. And so there's a lot of tremendous backlash over it, including Adam West. Funny enough, he was very much against Michael Keaton being chosen. In fact, I think he quite expected himself to be asked back to play Bruce Wayne, Batman. But at that point, bearing in mind the announcement of Keaton, no one knew what the films were going to be like. In the public's eyes, they probably expected it to be like the Adam West version, updated to the 80s. And didn't expect this fantastic little jet black, dark story of Batman, and a little bit of his origin story in there as well. So this is quite a game changer in terms of the superhero genre, going A, dark, and B, under the skin of the character. It wasn't just an adventure for them to do. That you got to know them a little bit, what made them tick. And
it was a big gamble,
a huge gamble,
for the
and a fantastic gamble that paid off because it was one of the biggest films ever.
And it was something the 60s show never did. They never actually went into detail of how he became Batman.
Yeah,
and the
they
whole
just were.
history. He was just there. You go. There's Batman. There's Robin.
That's it.
There you go.
You just assume the story, but this was the first time to really sort of explore it and give it some sort of emotional weight to the character, because the Bruce Wayne character is a fascinating character, as his Batman, but you have to have a good actor to play both roles, because one is they say later on, don't they, that Bruce Wayne is the kind of the mask that he wears, and Batman is the real person.
It's the real him, yeah.
So it's
and of course they left Robin out as well.
And there's no Robin in this. Yeah, they did. A lot of people were disappointed. Again, they were expecting it to be like the TV show.
They went with the comic based origin.
Yes, they did. Yeah,
because
they had a lot of
Robin
support
didn't
from
come in.
Bob Kane at the time. He was the surviving creator of the comics, and he was there on set. overseeing it all, and they filmed it in the UK actually, and and it had this kind of great gothic feel to it. This kind of Gotham City, like I said, it's my favourite of the films because it has this great fusion of the 1930s comic genre where the villains wear fedora hats and trench coats, and mixed with the kind of at the time high-tech 80s technology. So it's kind of fused together. Even the Batmobile in this has a kind of 1930s kind of highly stylized look with the with the front, the back with the wings and everything. So it's a great mix of the gangster pinstripe suits and things, and it's for me it's all I wanted from a story, I suppose, at the time. I was very fortunate to see this as well at the cinema at 10 years old, because it was the first 12.
I wasn't.
And poor Alan tried, he didn't get in, but
I got plucked out of the queue by the cinema manager. He goes, "No, you're not 12. Off
Alan,
you go."
Alan's baby face got him yanked out of the queue. But I had the day I went, I was with my brother, and he, I guess, had sunglasses and baseball hat on, and managed to get me in. And I remember sitting down.
Drawn on stubble.
Yeah, but it was at Hendon, funny enough, where I ultimately ended up working.
Oh, Christ.
Briefly, yeah. So I probably had like Sam as the projectionist,
There's probably something that we should mention about the character of Batman, in that he was never supposed to be a killer. I think in the comic books it's sort of spoken about, and in the sequel to this, I believe he actually kills one of the henchmen.
I don't think
he drops him down a manhole or something, and then
with the
there's a
detonator
bomb
on him attached
and
to
he just lets the bomb go
yeah.
off.
Yeah.
So you could argue, you could argue that he didn't.
A lot of villains in these superhero films, they're kind of die by their own hand, if you like.
Yeah,
it's always accidental. Like if you look at the Spider-Man films, the villains all technically die by their own hand.
Yeah, it was.
And Batman is
premeditated murder, though, was it?
No.
No, but a lot of people consider that to be the only time that he did purposefully kill someone. Again, it's arguable.
Yeah, I think it's arguable.
I suppose. I mean, the way he deals with the Joker, I suppose, Jack Nicholson, I'm guessing he just tries to keep him where he is and say, I can grab him and then have him arrested. But obviously, if it goes a bit wrong, okay.
I don't know. I think by the time the second one, when Batman Returns, there's already a more comedic element creeping in, more than the first Batman, I think.
Well, that was probably the producer saying it was
a
bit too grim.
I know that the studios, by the time we got to Batman Returns, the studios wanted a more lighter film.
Yeah.
Because they had back-end deals with Burger King and McDonald's for Happy Meal ties in and
all those other merchandising.
And Burton was still keen to pursue his own darker vision of the character. So there was a weird mashup of styles in a way, because you got the comedic moments with the Penguin played by Danny DeVito, and like his duck that can drive up the steps.
Oh, that thing,
the sound of a Trans Am engine. And,
it's hilarious.
Exactly, your silly bits that they throw in, but mixed with sort of more darker moments.
Like biting the guy's nose, the blood squirting everywhere.
So it is a rather bizarre mix of styles. You've got kind of violent elements and then kind of comedic elements. So it's
fishy swat.
Yeah, great moment.
But the villain of the first one was a stark contrast to the villain of the second one. The villain of the second one is very much more laid back and more sort of psychologically terrifying.
Who do you mean?
Christopher Walken.
Walken, yeah. What compared to
Nicholson's Joker,
yeah.
The Nicholson's Joker was very much sort of like haha in your face.
Very flamboyant, wasn't he?
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a great thing, but I don't think Walken was technically the main villain of the sequel.
No, not really, but
it's more because he's manipulated by
Penguin.
The Penguin, really, and then you got a subplot with Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman.
Selena Kyle, you're fired.
Yeah,
she was great.
She was okay. Yeah, the inclusion of that I didn't bother me actually. It was all right.
I think they're just trying to raise the stakes, because after the Joker, you go with the sequel. So obviously with the sequel, they try and go bigger. So instead of one villain, you have two. or 3 if you count Walken's Max Shrek.
Max Shrek.
Yeah.
Not you, Shrek.
So with the
So there was gonna be
producers wanting to sort of bring in that sort of comical element the 60s had, there was some talks after the second one.
Yeah, they didn't like the mix of styles, I guess, from because Burton was keen to keep it darker, whereas the studios want to go lighter, and so there was, I guess, a third Batman film which was going to be with Burton. Originally, it was going to be with Burton and Keaton, and when they said we want to lighten it even more, both Keaton and Burton walked from the franchise, and then it was taken over. Directing duties were taken over by Joel Schumacher.
Boo.
A good enough director on his own right. He made
Yep.
the Lost Boys.
I didn't like the Lost Boys, so next. Come on, Joel. What
Falling
else did
Down
he
he
do?
made with.
All right, I'll give him that.
Michael-
Defans.
I'll
yeah.
give him that. I'll
Yes.
give him that.
Briefcase
film.
sports bag.
Yeah.
So I can't. You can't blame the whole thing at his feet.
No, you can't.
And to be fair, he did apologise.
Exactly. Not many
Yeah.
directors do that.
He was only doing what he thought was
That's
right,
right,
which
yeah.
is just fair enough.
Yeah,
It-
at the very end of the audio commentary on the DVD for Batman and Robin, he said, "If I've disappointed anybody with this vision of Batman,
Yeah.
if this is not what you wanted, I am truly sorry."
Yeah.
I love the way that when George Clooney ever meets someone, he'd be like, "And I apologise for Batman." It's like he always brings it up.
Yeah. I've only seen bits of that one. I
Oh,
don't
you're
skip
lucky.
over Batman Forever, but the Batman
Yeah.
and Robin I've only seen tiny bits of. Honestly.
You haven't missed much.
No,
No.
by all accounts, I haven't. But the Batman Forever I did see when it came out.
I liked Batman. I'm not going to pretend I did like just
Yeah.
because of Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
I liked it. I can't say I loved it, but Val Kilmer, who was very
It was
prominent
alright.
in the '90s, he's good, and Cole Kidman, embracing more of a
Better
what's the type?
rodents.
Yeah, better rodents, Dr. Murray.
Well, they are.
But you got Jim Carrey, obviously, who's very hot at the time after Ace Ventura and The Mask and Dumb and Dumber, so he was a hot thing. But the interesting one in this film was Tommy Lee Jones as
There's a lot of
Two-Face,
hoo-ha with that, isn't there?
because he was him and Kerry did not get on at all.
Ooh, no.
Yeah, they had a big. I think Tommy Jones literally just pulled him aside and on one of the
Yeah,
days and said, he goes,
It was in a restaurant.
That's right.
They
It was in a
went to
restaurant. Yeah.
and Jim Carrey went up to Tommy and
Thought,
said, "Hi, I'm Jim. Let's hope let's have a nice film."
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. And that's when he said,
And
"I hate you."
He said, I don't like you.
Yeah.
And, he goes,
Yeah.
and I will not tolerate your buffoonery.
And the reason for that is literally because he wanted the Jim Carrey sort of persona. He wanted to be that. So he was jealous of Jim because Jim
Yeah, it
was
was
doing
kind of weird
so
to
well.
have. So why have the Riddler by Jim Carrey and then have him playing Two-Face? Like that. I mean,
I don't know. All I know is that Tommy was so upset that he was being upstaged dramatically by
Yeah.
Jim Carrey.
because he was kind of used to being the scene stealer in
Yeah.
the films he was normally in. I like Tommy Lee. I think he's a good actor.
I didn't mind his role in this. I thought it was all right. And
Yeah.
if you watch the films, you'd never have guessed that they hated each other. So
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, that's the thing. Jim Carrey didn't hate Tommy Lee Jones at all. He thought, oh, great, I've got Tommy Lee Jones as a co-star. This is great. I'll be
Yeah.
sharing a set with him on
Yeah.
most days.
yeah,
But Tommy Lee Jones just being a dick.
yeah, it's like you old fart. But anyway, no. But Tommy Lee Jones is a very, very good actor. So
He is. He is.
We're
Alright.
not
I
going to
love
shit
him.
on him too much.
The Fugitive, and
He's done some good ones.
Under Siege. He's a great role. He's great in JFK too. Yeah.
I don't either.
Yeah. No Country for Old Men.
No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
So yeah, when Batman and Robin came around, it was just like, all right, you're just taking the piss now.
It was, I think, because again, it had more money thrown at it, and then the bigger, even bigger names such as Schwarzenegger. I mean, he'd never normally do something like this because he was used to headlining his own films.
Yeah, that's right.
He wouldn't
Well,
normally.
one of his stipulations is that his name had to go first in the credits.
Oh, and was it on this film?
I think so. Yeah.
What, above Clooney?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because Clooney was quite new. He'd only done a couple of like actual films. He was obviously known from ER.
Yeah.
Obviously, he went on to do From Dusk Till Dawn, which obviously was the one that propelled him into superstardom.
Yeah.
Well, that was when
Yeah.
Tarantino was doing the guest direction for ER in the final series.
Yeah.
And you found him. It was like, yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think he might have made another film after that, but obviously the big one for Clooney following From Dusk Till Dawn was Batman and Robin.
Right. Because I've read an interview with Schumacher, and he said he was on a flight from America, I guess, coming to Europe, and he on the cover of the magazine he was reading was George Clooney, and so he sort of bored, he started doodling, and he drew the Batman mask on his thing to kind of see what he'd look like. And
Oh, right.
sort of thought, hey, because I don't think Val Kilmer was keen to come back.
Well, no, I wouldn't be. But, looking at the script.
This one, obviously, by the title, introduced Robin, but wasn't Robin in the third
He
one?
was Batman Forever, yeah. He was part of the Flying Graysons, and I think it was...
and that's from the comics?
Tommy Lee Jones's Two-Face holds up the circus and causes the other Graysons to fall to their death.
Right.
I think it was a comic book story at some point. Yeah.
Whether it was Two-Face responsible for it, I don't think it was, but it was something like that. He was part of an acrobatic troupe called the Flying Graysons.
Well, it's a bit like the first Tim Burton Batman, where the Joker in that film was responsible for Bruce Wayne's parents'
Yeah,
death.
that's where they kind of saw like the kind of like mirror thinking where we're kind of the same.
Yeah, but that wasn't true in the comics.
No, I don't think it is.
I don't know that.
I will have to look it up.
I think there's a guy called Joe Chill, who is this random guy who kills Batman's parents in the comics.
Oh.
That was the name given to him.
His name will crop up a bit later.
Yes, yeah, he's the guy held responsible for the thing and leads to Bruce Wayne becoming an orphan.
But so with the thing with Batman and Robin, I think what they're trying to do is try and capture the goofiness of the 60s TV series with the bright
that's
colours.
That's the impression I get.
The acting in that film is atrocious.
So you've got Arnie hamming it up as Mr. Freeze.
He's hamming it up so much you could have a
Let's kick
ham roll with it all.
He could open up his own butchers.
He could, yeah. It's terrible. The acting is some of the worst I've seen.
Yeah.
And that's saying something. I've sat through a lot of 80s slasher films where the acting is terrible. I think I've seen better acting in a porn movie.
Well, he says here on one of the reviews, observers criticised the film for its campy approach and for its homosexual innuendos added by Schumacher.
Well, it was the nipples on the arm, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. Plus, there's a shot of when he puts the bat suit on. You get a shot of like his arse.
Yeah.
The
There's arse shots everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, right, I didn't know.
Even
They do. He does the same thing when obviously Alicia Silverstone suits up as Batgirl, grown.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So she got Batgirl added to this.
You got Batgirl added to it, and I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why the '66 Batman series kind of went under, because obviously in the third season they introduced Batgirl,
right?
And then soon enough after that, the show was cancelled,
Right.
and then obviously, I don't know, I'm not sexist by the way, but there's a theme going on here. There's got to be some sort of correlation.
History repeating itself.
So obviously they introduced Batgirl, and all of a sudden this is a contributing factor to the way the film failed.
We'll just address it. Look, I think the general public weren't used to having female superheroes. I think that's probably what it is. And so when you bring someone like that to the screen, it's people don't know how to think.
But obviously, when you put it together with the bad story, the bad acting.
Yeah, I think because they're doing one now, a Batgirl story.
They did a TV show, and it's subsequently been cancelled because obviously it was terrible, awful.
We'll move on to the elephant in the room, which is the Christopher Nolan's.
Yay.
So there was a gap of
9 years.
Yeah.
Less than that. 5.
Because there was meant to be a fifth film called I heard it was meant to be called Batman Triumphant or something.
Yeah.
Whether this is true or not, apparently he's going to have Jeff Goldblum as the Scarecrow.
Yeah, Batman Unchained. I got here.
Batman Unchained. Okay. I heard Batman Triumphant. I think it was reported by Total Film magazine.
Yeah, and it's often incorrectly referred to as Batman Triumphant.
Yeah. And the story I heard, whether this is true or not, I don't know. It was meant to have Jeff Goldblum in it as the Scarecrow.
Yeah.
And they were going to bring in cameos from Jack Nicholson, Danny DeVito,
Yep.
previous villains, all brought up as hallucinations to Batman. Obviously, this got canned because obviously Batman and Robin was a total train wreck.
It says here that Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, and Aisha Silverstone were set to reprise their roles of Batman, Robin, and Batgirl. And Schumacher also approached Nicolas Cage for the role of Scarecrow, and set up his appearance for Batman Unchained, before ultimately casting Coolio.
Yeah, of all people.
Yeah.
Didn't he do the soundtrack or something? Or am I like thinking of something else? I'm thinking of something
I don't know.
Probably a song somewhere.
So anyway,
It didn't happen.
no. Nolan's Batman.
So to say from the outset, you're not a fan, and Alan is, and I'm.
No, well, I'll be honest here. Batman Begins was so good. It was so good. And no, I didn't like the
what did you like about Batman Begins?
The fact that he stuck to the formula, being it's night time most of the time. You know, if you're going to do a comic book story, it can't be grounded in real life. You can't seek to try and ground it as well as bring it out of the time period that it was designed in. In this case, it was the 30s, 40s, that whole era of, you know, Tommy guns and you know, when you try to sort of modernize something, it especially in this case, it didn't really work when Nolan brought in his elements to it. What I liked about Nolan's direction is the sense of suspense that he brings to the films. But what I didn't like, and what I ended up despising, was the fact there's quite a few, I'm afraid, the fact that he shot in daytime most of the time. The casting choices were all wrong, in my opinion, and the plot line itself, what happens, you know, because with Batman Begins, it ends up with him sort of saying, yes, right, I'll go and find the Joker, and da-da-da, you know. And then Dark Knight happens, and he wants to hang his cape up because of Rachel. And I just thought, what, really? It's been a couple of years or something.
Yeah, how many years between them are there?
I don't know. Do you know?
In the space of Batman Begins and Dark Knight, it's something like 8 months or something.
So that's not even that long at all.
But it was about 3 years in real life between films.
Yes, 2005, 2006 for Batman Begins, 2008 was Dark Knight, and then obviously 4 years later, 2012 for Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
But it was the fact that the character wanted to hang up the cape and give up, even though he had just started.
Yeah.
Really pissed me off.
So you're saying that by the end of the first Batman Begins, that he was set up to be Batman.
Yeah, he was all up for it. He was
and then suddenly it's like his best years are behind him, and he's wants to knock it on the head.
I just thought he was a bit of a pussyhole in this, to be quite honest. And you know, I'm not going to knock Heath Ledger's Joker in any way because it was his interpretation. I didn't agree with his interpretation, just because that's not how the Joker is in the comic books. And I've always been a fan of adapting a character in the right way. I don't think Nolan did that very well. For the third one, I just thought it was even worse. He made a big mistake with Bane and the mask. Yeah, I thought that the way he did Bane with the mask, there was a mistake with how he decided to have the character speak. It was all sort of like a big fucking mistake. But I tell you something though, I loved the opening to The Dark Knight, the whole bank heist. I thought it was fantastic. Just do it at night. The fact that it was at daytime, it just dispels everything. And even if it's not involving Batman, I do still think that you should have it at night time.
Well, the key to that sequence, obviously being shot in daytime, was obviously the Joker's escape plan. Was obviously get rid of all the crew because they don't need them anymore. The idea was to steal the mob's money, and the idea to escape was to use the school bus. Schedule. So his school bus blends in with the rest.
But it's like none of the other school bus drivers noticed a school bus coming out of the bank. It's anyway. It's full of, I get quite critical when I get annoyed with movies. I start picking holes in it out, all over the place.
Well, it's not without its faults.
But this is your favourites. Batman.
Yeah,
movies.
I quite like The Dark Knight. I thought
Yeah.
it was an interesting film. It was very influenced by things like Heat, Michael Mann, which is probably one of the greatest crime dramas of all time ever made.
Not bad. Yeah, it wasn't bad.
And
do you think it was a good mix? To go from my only critique of this film is that with the Batman Begins, what I enjoyed was the look that Nolan set up was this kind of muddy colours, but the nighttime crime. And I know he was very influenced on the first one with Blade Runner, and he saw little elements of that. And on this one, obviously, it was influenced by Heat, but to me, it felt like a different universe almost. It didn't feel like the Gotham of the previous film. It didn't feel like...
Yeah, I can appreciate that. I mean, like you said, with Batman Begins, there's a shot of him sort of clinging to this side of this building, and it's pissing down with rain, and his cape's blowing in the wind, and that's a very Blade Runner kind of shot, and that's probably my favourite shot of the whole trilogy.
But it's not without... The sequels aren't without its merits, just because...
Of course,
you know, the cinematography in that was so good. When...
I mean, technically...
he's got his bike.
Yeah.
The whole bike.
Batpod.
The Batpod, yeah.
The cinematography.
I'm still trying to work out how the
amazing.
wheel spins, because he does like a little wheel spin thing. And he does it twice. He does it once in Dark Knight, does it once and Dark Knight Rises. I think Catwoman ends up doing it, how she learns to ride this thing in the space of 5 minutes of learning how to ride it in the first place. I don't know how she does it. But
Technically, you're right. The cinematography by Nolan's guy Willie Pfister.
What a name!
With a
Is
P.
that with the silent P?
It's like he's named Willie and not Bum.
Yeah. the silent Willy.
The tremendous use of the IMAX format.
This is probably the foray into the IMAX.
He because he's quite very keen on using it in all of his subsequent films.
Because I think he shot Batman Begins on film.
He did. They're all on film. But this is the first time the Dark Knight was the first one to use IMAX cameras.
The IMAX cameras.
Don't get me started on IMAX.
Because
we'll just move on.
Because there's something with IMAX here that annoys me when it comes to the home release.
Yeah.
The fucking Blu-ray, it jumps from fucking IMAX to 2.35 to IMAX to 2.5. I think
that's the problem I have.
Please just stick to one ratio when I'm watching this goddamn film.
A lot of films don't do that now, do they? No. Did subsequent Nolan films change ratio?
No, they don't. No, Tenet doesn't do it. Inception didn't do it.
Is it only The Dark Knight?
I think it's The Dark Knight that seems to do it for some bizarre reason. It's really sort of distracting.
It's
distracting.
I suppose it is a little bit. I mean, when you're obviously in the cinema watching it, you don't realise the ratios jumping about, particularly on an IMAX screen, I suppose.
But there's something I do need to bring up with this as well, and that's Harvey Two-Face. Because
he's not Tommy Lee Jones.
There's only really one problem I have with it, and that, well, there's two. It didn't need to be in there in the film, right? He didn't need to be there, really. I thought it was just sort of like a shoehorn. I don't think it was fleshed out or thought through properly anyway. But the big thing that I have a problem with is he just had half his fucking face burnt off, and he's in hospital, and he refuses any sort of painkillers, which is fine. You can choose not to, but you would be in agonising pain. The guy's just lying there, just talking as if it's, he's just woken up from a nap or something. It's like, dude, you'd be in just, oh God. I think that's when I was like, all right, you know what, fuck off. But that's me getting picky because of bad decisions. And I think, I personally think Nolan fucked up a little bit in this one.
Yeah.
But
they can't be too realistic. I mean, because the whole concept, as you say,
it's a comic book movie, but you'd still be screaming in pain, though, mate,
no, I agree.
even if it's a comic book.
But it's at the same time, I suppose they're thinking of audience and things like that. They make it too graphic and realistic. You're going to lose the film certificate you want, which is to allow children.
That's another factor to consider.
Children to see. It can't be too grotesque.
Yeah.
I'm sure they could have really pushed it.
Yeah, because there's a 12. I mean, Joker, he suggests in one sequence to chop a guy up and feed him to his dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So he suggests that, and the thing is, the guy is led away,
yeah,
screaming. But obviously, you don't see what happens because then obviously you focus on Ledger's Joker making a phone call to news network about blowing up his hospital.
Right.
It's a very iconic portrayal, Heath Ledger's Joker. It's a lot. It sits quite in a lot of people's hearts. I'm not going to say that his death sort of enhanced that as such, but it kind of did in a way. But I didn't think it was all that, to be quite honest. Hashtag not my Joker.
The mentality of his Joker was on point.
He had the right mentality.
The mentality
in that
was there, that he was random.
You didn't know what his origin story was, and he kept feeding you different ones. I liked that.
Yeah, that's good.
I liked that.
You shouldn't know too much.
No, you shouldn't, and I don't think anyone would sort of care anyway. But Dark Knight Rises, that was okay, but I just didn't like Bane. I didn't like the that's what really just put me off. If it wasn't for that, I think I'd probably enjoy it.
The interesting thing is, I think Mark here got me a ticket to see Mission Impossible Protocol.
Ghost Protocol, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And I went to the IMAX to see that, and it had tagged to it the opening sequence to The Dark Knight Rises.
That's right, yeah.
And it was a sequence where it was a pre-cut, and they didn't have the audio correct. And
yes, that's right, because they revoiced Bane.
He had to re-record his voice, because all you heard was over all the airplane sounds. And I'm thinking, is there something wrong with the IMAX speakers? I can't get this. I hope it doesn't sound like this for the whole film.
But he did really.
Apparently, Tom Hardy credited the voice for an old, I think, 1950s boxer. Apparently, he spoke that way. I didn't. Because Bane's origin, he was born in a Caribbean prison or something. That's the origin of the character in the comics. Yeah. Obviously, he didn't want to go full, I suppose Rastafarian, if that's the correct term. If it's not, I do apologise.
No, it is.
He didn't want to go the whole hog with that. So he creates a new dialect, if you like, because obviously he had to try and voice himself. Because Tom Hardy was basically using his eyes for the whole performance. Yeah. That's all he could do. His eyes and his hands were doing everything.
That became a theme in a lot of his films. He's got a mask on, like
Mad Max, Dunkirk
as well. He does love a mask.
He does, yeah.
The old COVID situation must have been great for him, because he put his mask on and people still recognise him, because they're so used to seeing him that way.
That's it, yeah.
I didn't like the fact that he was so overpowered, though. It's just like he kicked the shit out of Batman, right? He literally put him in traction or something.
That's from the comics.
But the way he bounces back, I thought was, I think we need a bit more time for that.
Wasn't he in a hole in India or something? Batman?
Yeah, he's tied up somewhere.
He's basically dumped in a pit.
His spine now.
It's actually a location in India.
Yeah.
And a big sort of climb to get out. And
with Tom Conti in there to fix your back.
He's a good actor. It's all about having Marion Cotillard as the daughter of the villain from the.
Oh, she's the daughter of Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson in the first film.
I enjoyed that. The other thing I was going to say that I liked about Batman Begins was the Neeson character, and the fact that the Batman Begins, in many ways, is not about Batman. It's about Bruce Wayne.
Yes, cool, yeah.
And his whole training sequence and going to Iceland and all these places they filmed at, I thought was very good, and I thought Neeson was terrific.
Yeah, it's good because he introduced himself as, he goes, "I am simply Ducard."
Yeah, and giving Bruce Wayne the elements he needs to be Batman.
That's it. Yeah. Trains in the League of Shadows. With,
the League of
Shadows.
Ken
Watanabe is portrayed in that sequence as a Ra's al Ghul.
That's right. Then having him as the villain ultimately in Batman Begins, and then his daughter turning out to be the villain of The Dark Knight Rises. I mean, it sort of comes full circle, I suppose.
Was Liam Neeson in the third one?
He was a cameo.
Yeah.
He was like a hallucination. Obviously, Bale's Bruce Wayne is under a lot of pain through the injury suffered from Bane.
So you also got Anne Hathaway as Catwoman in this one.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of her.
Another shoehorn.
Yeah, I didn't like her character really. She was annoying.
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt as Robin John Blake.
Oh, is that the Robin?
Yeah, because isn't it hinted at the end that?
It's hinted that maybe you should use your birth name, Robin, and I'm thinking.
And he discovers the Batcave at the end, doesn't he?
Yeah, because obviously Bruce Wayne gives him the bag of tricks and says, "This is the coordinates to something." And But it's ultimately it's a payoff we don't get.
Yeah.
Because obviously Nolan didn't do a fourth film.
No, but he was only going to do 3 anyway.
He was only going to do 3, so I didn't. I really agree with the character. The only other actor I liked in all 3 films was the great Michael Caine.
Oh yeah, well, he's great.
He suits it perfectly. In some ways you can't imagine him sitting on a computer working stuff out.
No.
But he carries it so well.
Yeah, no, he's a good enough actor.
Yeah, he's a great actor,
Yeah,
and I love the fact that Bruce Wayne would always call on him for a bit of knowledge and all that. And the best story is from The Dark Knight, actually, when he talks about comparing the Joker to this guy they were chasing in Cambodia. He was basically a jewel thief, and he was like nicking jewels and stuff like that, and he was just doing it for sport. Like the Joker was basically just messing with everybody. And of course, Bale goes, did you ever find him? And he goes, yeah. He goes, how did you catch him? We burnt the forest down.
Charming.
So that's basically Michael Caine's. But Alfred saying, if you want the Joker, just go at him. The only way you're going to stop.
Be prepared to him do a lot of damage doing it.
That's it. He's someone who doesn't care. He can't be bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. No. He just wants to watch the world burn, as Michael Caine famously says.
He goes against Batman's non-kill policy.
Yeah, exactly. Because the Joker even tempts him by saying, if the only way to finish this is to break your one rule.
Mm. Yeah.
Okay, Psycho.
And of course, in going into Dark Knight Rises, Batman continues with that, and obviously it's Catwoman who finishes Bane in a way that's, I think, just so fucking ridiculous.
Oh, she kills him.
She kills Bane with the Batpod, and thinking, but 2 minutes before that, she blows up some debris with the exact same bloody gun on the Batpod. Yeah, she uses the same gun on Bane and just fires him backwards like he got hit with a shotgun.
He's got plot armor on.
Yeah, but still, she blows apart a load of cars.
Yeah, it's full of holes, mate. If I had my way, I'd send Nolan back to film school. Sorry, mate. There's a lot you need to learn. There's a real lot you need to learn.
I hope he's listening.
I hope you are fucking listening.
But the thing is, it wasn't the original story. That Dark Knight Rises was not meant to go that way. He was meant to have Ledger's Joker back in again.
Of course, yeah.
But of course, Ledger's Joker, obviously, Ledger passed away.
Tragically, they wouldn't recast him.
And they refused to recast him. And it's only in the novelisation of Dark Knight Rises they actually mention the Joker. Wow. Because Jim Gordon, played by the great Gary Oldman,
Gaza.
He says, Arkham Asylum has only one inmate, and that's the Joker.
Right.
They keep him on his own because they don't want anyone talking to him. They want him talking to anybody to manipulate anybody. So that's the Joker. But obviously they omitted that from the film. They didn't want to mention the Joker. They thought, let's leave Heath Ledger's Joker in that film.
Yeah, respect you had to really, I suppose. I think the audience would understand that.
Yeah.
So the years that followed that his trilogy, it was at that point where DC officially took it over, or was it? Was it a DC movie universe, anyway?
Yeah, they kind of went with. They obviously brought Superman back from the brink with.
Man of Steel.
The Man of Steel,
decent.
Which was so good, by the way.
Yeah, it's a decent film. And then
we all like that one.
And then 2016 we got Batman versus Superman. Dawn of Jism.
Dawn of Justice.
It's alright. I'm annoyed at Ben Affleck because it's like.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts on Ben Affleck as Batman?
I thought he was fine, but
yeah,
the fact was that he just pussyfooted out of it. It was just like, no, I don't want to do it anymore. I was like, well, why did you fucking start it then? If you knew it was going to be a franchise.
Yeah, but do you think that's because they promised him something and he didn't get it? And
what did they promise him?
Well, I'd assume because also he's a director and he was going to direct his own standalone Batman film.
And he should have got that.
Yeah.
He should have got his own
Batman.
Batman.
Yeah, but get over it if they say no. You know what I mean? If they say no, you can star in it, but we don't want you to direct it. You'll be like, all right.
Oh yeah, but he didn't step away from the role because he wanted to do the Justice League.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
but that was the last time he was playing Batman, wasn't it? In Justice League, or did he do something else? Was there something?
After Justice League. He
cameoed in Suicide Squad. That's
yes.
right.
Yeah.
But
he's also cameoing in the new Flash film with Michael Keaton's Batman.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, they're doing alternate universe Batmans because the Flash can jump.
Multiverse.
I didn't know his one was going to be there.
Yeah, it's both Keaton and Affleck.
Cool.
So he's not against playing the role. I just think they screwed him over on doing his own film.
I know that he doesn't want to do it again. So however that arrived, I'm just disappointed in him for that. But other than that, I thought it was fine.
Yeah,
it was fine.
Were you out?
Yeah, I think he carried across. Obviously reservations because he's done superheroes before. He'd done Daredevil, and that film was awful.
Oh, that was bad. Yeah.
But you can't judge him for that because obviously he didn't write the script for that film. He didn't direct the film.
Yeah.
So I give him a pass. So I thought it's okay. He's taken on Batman, completely different hero. Let's see how he does. And for the best part, no, he was fine. I had no problem with him being Batman. He done his job well.
He did do it well, yeah.
What about the overall film? Having Batman and Superman together for the first time in a
I think they rushed it.
film. You think
I think they rushed it.
And they introduced Wonder Woman as well.
Rushed it.
Yeah.
I thought it needed more time in the oven.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it felt rushed.
It's almost like they almost deserve their own separate films first before they joined up.
I think what they're trying to do was they're trying to catch up with Marvel because obviously Marvel
what they were trying to do.
By that point,
exactly.
you had two Iron Man films, you had an Incredible Hulk film, you had a Captain America film, a Thor film.
Yeah.
Then they did the Avengers. Right. This one they just had Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Justice League. They rushed it.
And the Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad was after.
I was after.
Yeah, after Justice League.
To be honest, if only they realised that they didn't need to do that.
Yeah.
Then I think they wouldn't have had all this sense of,
I suppose
we've got to get it out.
The characters are kind of well known. I mean, everyone knows Batman and Superman, and to a point,
yeah,
they're aware of Wonder Woman. I don't know. It is weird. I agree with you guys. They should have had their own individual stories before they teamed up. But it could have been done a little bit better. Like you say, more time in the oven. They could have had more time to breathe in the film. Obviously, with a feature film, this is quite a long film from what I remember. It's over nearly 3 hours, maybe, was it?
I think so, yeah. It was pushing the 2.5, 2.75 to 3 hour mark.
A lot to cram in.
A lot of people hate that Lex Luthor character. I've forgotten who.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg, yeah.
A lot of people didn't like him. I liked him a lot, actually. I thought he did quite well.
I'm crazy about him. I mean, to me, I look at him and just see Mark Zuckerberg from Social Network.
Look, yeah.
He
the guy from Zombieland.
Yeah, I mean, he looks just like the real guy.
Yeah.
And he's not my choice. Originally, they were circling Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. I'd love to have seen Bryan Cranston because Bryan Cranston's he's been after a superhero for a long time, or a comic book film.
He would have been really good. Plus, he had the shaved head from Breaking Bad.
That's it. He has been after a. I think he's mentioned something about being in a Marvel film at some point as somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, there's one guy I would love to see him play, Doctor Doom. Bryan Cranston as Doctor Doom.
Might work. Yeah.
I'll be happy to see him. He's good.
But yeah, he's great. But unfortunately, Doctor Doom be under a mask all the time.
Yeah,
that's the only problem. But no, Bryan Cranston, he's amazing.
Shout out to Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, you're amazing, sir.
We love you, Brad.
So the Justice League, right? So you had Zack Snyder started off.
We've got two versions of this film, we should point out.
Well, his father died, and he kind of was just like, I can't do this anymore. So we went off. And then you had that bell end, Joss Whedon come in and finish it off. He destroyed it.
Yeah, and two senses there as well. Finished it off all right. He did. Yes.
Yeah, he really just spoiled it. He's so far up his own arse, Joss Whedon. He can't even see his own self. But Zack Snyder came back a few years later, due to popular demand. There was a whole thing.
Rare because obviously. Internets have these petitions and they have these instances where they say, "I'll release this cut." For instance, a popular example being Superman 2. A lot of Superman films, they had the original footage of. I think we discussed it on one of our 80s podcasts of the original version.
The Donner cut
that existing. Yeah, so
they
were able to re-edit Superman 2. And have it how Dick Donner originally wanted it, and the fans obviously were aware of that the footage existed, so they finally got through internet fan petitioning, and the Zack Snyder's Justice League was a result of something similar, wasn't it? During the lockdown, he's able to go in and
but he still fucked it though.
Why did he fuck it, Alan?
Ratio.
Yes.
The ratio's wrong.
You fucking peen ass. Why would you choose a 4:3 ratio?
Because he claimed it was an IMAX ratio. It's not. IMAX ratio is not 4:3.
No, it's more squarer than
yeah.
that.
It's full screen for a start.
1.90.
Yeah, something. Yes, thank you. It's something like So that's the only thing. If he just kept it at the 1.9 ratio,
or even 178.
Fine.
That's what the original Justice League was in 178.
Yeah, because no one has a 4:3 TV anymore. I can't remember the last time I had a 4:3 TV. It must have been like 1998.
Yeah, no one has
maybe.
But more to the point, when it comes to movies, everyone is used to wide. Movies are in wide format, and that's a staple. Don't try to change that. It doesn't work. I never agreed with the IMAX ratio. I fucking hate it. I just, it doesn't work for me. I know that people love it, but no, I'm used to everything being wide, so can we just stick to being wide, please? And he didn't do that. I was like, oh, come on, there's got to be a cut where it's all wide. But no, it's all square. So I haven't seen it purely based on that fact. I can't watch it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You haven't seen this version?
No, I can't watch it. I can't watch it
because
of the
ratio. It's actually very hard to watch.
It's you
expected it just to zoom out or fill the screen at some point, but it just doesn't.
Well, if you change your aspect ratio and
well, then you miss shit. You miss half the fucking screen of what he's intending to film. It's just like, why would you do that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I really got a bee in my bonnet about that. Because I liked Zack Snyder. I thought he did a really brilliant job on Watchmen. It was the definitive superhero movie for me. He just fucked this one up. And he fucked up again with fucking... Was it City of the Dead or something?
Oh, whatever. That thing.
Fucking pile of shite. Yes.
So have you seen both? You ever seen...
I've seen the original Justice League. I haven't seen Zack Snyder's just because I can't do it. I can't. I tried, but I can't. Just because of the ratio. I'm used to everything being in wide.
No, I've seen it. I mean, it's 4 hours. I watched it in 2 installments. I mean, it's good. Having seen both, I watched them both kind of close together, and it was interesting watching the...
What did you think?
Personally, I could see what was originally there in the release cut, the first one, and then see what Joss Whedon obviously added.
And improved. Like Steppenwolf looks much better in Zack Snyder cut.
It's you could see I watched them, like I say, quite close together. I personally like the color palette of the release one. It had the thing. I wasn't a fan of Zack Snyder's bleached out muddy. It looks good for Batman Begins, but everything's kind of tonally is kind of sepia kind of throughout. There's not much visually. It's not as exciting. The great thing about not the great thing, but the good thing about the released Justice League thing was, as I say, one of the good things was the color palette. Because the Aquaman with the blues and the things, and the Cyborg, had a color thing, and then Superman obviously had his own color, as did sort of Batman. And you see it in the release picture, don't you? The poster. In fact, you drew one actually, didn't you, Pete?
I did do the Justice League poster, but of course at the time,
which you'll find on your Instagram account, which is
it's Stockbridge Works, same as my YouTube channel. Thank you for bringing that up.
That's right. And also his wonderful Joker collection, as we're on the theme of Joker. Pete has drawn some terrific portraits. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, phenomenal. I'm underselling him.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. There's one slight little trivia with the Justice League poster in that the one I sketched at the time hadn't advertised Superman, so Superman wasn't in the poster because it was a secret.
They wanted to keep it secret that he was back. Yeah.
So I knew for some reason that he was back. I found out, so I ended up putting Superman in, but it's the comic book Superman.
Oh yes.
And if you pay attention, obviously you'll notice it's not Bob Ross. Alex Ross's rendition of Superman. He's a very famous comic book artist, and I would urge you to read his comic book Kingdom Come, which he penned with someone else. Is one of the best Justice League comic books I have ever read. So yeah, I hope that gets made into a movie one day. All right. So moving on to the we've had some we've had, in between all of this, obviously, we've had, the Lego Batman movies, we've had some cartoons, there's been some TV series.
Yeah, no, the other thing I was just going to add, just going back to Zack Snyder's Justice League, at the end, you have this scene of Jared Leto's Joker from Suicide Squad,
Mm-hmm.
and it's in a kind of in the future of an apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic world, where Batman is kind of having to work alongside the Joker, who's kind of got this grungy, long-haired look, thing, and obviously setting it up for a further thing. But I just wondered, you haven't actually seen the films?
I've seen that scene.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Fine. I mean, we'll get on to our favourites towards the end, but I just felt, that it was fine. Didn't have a problem with it.
And did you
just the ratio? That's my only gripe.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. What about the Suicide Squad as a Joker film? What's your thoughts?
I loved the Suicide Squad. I thought it was really, really good.
Because there's two Suicide Squads, isn't there?
There's the David Ayer one.
Well, there's the first one, then there's the second one.
Yeah. So you got the Suicide Squad, and then you have the
Suicide
Suicide
Squad.
The Suicide Squad, yeah. The first one was Jared Leto and Margot Robbie as.
I prefer that. I prefer the first one. Jared Leto's Joker
was edited out quite a bit, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was chopped out a lot.
There was a lot, but I liked it.
Yeah,
I liked it. It's not got a candle to Jack Nicholson's Joker or Mark Hamill's Joker for that matter. But I do think it was I thought it was better than Heath Ledger's. I'm sorry to say, but I liked Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad was good because it was a nice little sort of a spin, and we came at the whole thing from a different angle.
And I think the director's actually pushing for his own cut as well. He's trying to do a Zack Snyder and trying to get his own cut released because he had a lot of studio interference.
I would love to see more Jared Leto, I'll be honest, as Joker,
So the diving off point is that obviously Ben Affleck was supposed to do his own Batman film on the back of all these...
nice
Justice
segue,
Leagues.
sir. Nice segue.
Oh, wow, that's what I was trying for. Ultimately, it wasn't to be. They couldn't agree with an angle with it, so Warner Brothers went to Matt Reeves as a director to write a new Batman film, which was called The Batman. Starring Robert Patterson as Batman. A whole sort of new universe. It didn't connect to the
So a bit like the Joker film was disconnected.
Oh yeah,
completely.
should we go to that first? We're doing it chronologically, or
is that chronologically next?
Yeah.
After Suicide Squad, it will go to Joker, which obviously it does feature Bruce Wayne and the Wayne family. Doesn't feature Batman.
Set in the 19.
We should really do it chronologically.
Yeah.
Right. Moving on to the Joker, which is a completely sort of separate, independent take. I don't think either the director or Joaquin Phoenix intended it to be anything close or similar to. It was literally for them a study in unless I'm mistaken, mental health, right?
Yeah, originally it was pitched as a one-off take, as you say, and it was originally pitched to be a more in the vein of a Scorsese film. In fact, Scorsese was a producer early on in the production.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was.
I think DiCaprio's involved, wasn't he?
And Leo DiCaprio was involved.
Was he?
He was the Joker.
He was eyeing up Joker.
Nah.
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been quite weird.
He was attracted to the fact that it was going to be in the style of Taxi Driver, in that sort of early mid-70s kind of style. In fact, it was going to be set in that period. Ultimately, ended up being the very, very early 80s period, but sort of mixture of 70s and 80s. So yes, it was going to be DiCaprio of all people playing this Joker with Scorsese, and then obviously as the years passed, they had their own projects which they did, The Wolf of Wall Street and things, and so they weren't able to make this particular film, and so then it went to another director. It was then handed to another director, Todd Phillips, who made the Hangover trilogy and various other sort of comedies. But yeah, he was a big Scorsese fan and wanted to do it in the style of almost like a Scorsese film, very heavily influenced by Taxi Driver and another personal favourite of mine, The King of Comedy, about a veiled stand-up comedian who thinks he's funny, but he's in his own fantasy world. He's already made it, and the only way he can get on TV is to kidnap the chat show host.
Played by De Niro.
Well, De Niro plays the comedian, and the chat show host played by Jerry Lewis. And so he holds him at ransom, and has this Sandra Bernhard, sort of semi-naked with a gun. They spoofed it wonderfully in Family Guy.
They always do spoof it.
Where Meg's sort of tied up. Was it Mae West or someone? And she's all tied up.
Something like that, yeah.
We're going to have some good old-fashioned all-American fun. And so he says the only way I could get on TV, is to do some drastic things. And you're probably wondering where Jerry is. He's a little tied up. And I'm the one who tied him. He's the only way I could get on TV. And you probably think I'm nuts. And better be king for a night than schmuck for a lifetime. That's his whole mantra. And the flip side of that film is that he gets what he wants, which is instant fame, instant recognition, without having to do any of the hard work. And it's very ambiguous as to whether he's actually made it at the end or it's all in his own mind in the first place. So the Joker is a response to that. It's a modern day version. I personally saw so many influences from King of Comedy and Taxi Driver.
And I think it was,
because it deals with mental health.
The fact that they got De Niro to play the chat show host, I think is a wonderful sort of spin on that.
It's a great touch, because obviously he's influenced by those two films, and with the Scorsese connection initially thing, I think he just sort of, to him, is it's another part in a film. And he played it wonderfully. I thought he was terrific in it.
He's one of those kind of actors that you never ever hear them say Gotham.
Yeah.
When he said Gotham, I thought this is real.
I don't get the
De Niro
is
in a Batman film.
Yeah. See, even he could do one. So it's that was a standalone film. I think it's
for me personally, I think this is probably one of the most important films of this decade.
The screening I saw it in the cinema, it had such a visceral reaction from the audience. You could literally cut the atmosphere with a knife, because the tension when it comes to the big scene towards the end on the chat show, and it's building up and building up and building up, and I could see a lot of people being very uncomfortable, myself included. It was very...
Tarantino agrees with you.
Does he?
Yeah.
Oh, your friend?
He mentioned it, yeah.
You love him?
Tarantino?
Yeah.
Well,
you have the same birthday.
I hated him, but now I love him.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like it when it works out well.
Yeah. We'll talk about Tarantino in a separate cast, because it is really literally its own podcast.
Yeah,
that guy. But yeah, he does mention that as being a really favourite moment.
To me, it's a throwback to those. It is like a throwback to an old '70s film. You wouldn't get that in a contemporary blockbuster like for for Marvel, let alone DC. You wouldn't normally get a scene like that in a film where you'd have to. It'd literally be half the length. I can't remember how long it is in the film. It's got to be a good sort of 15-20 minutes build up.
Yeah.
Of him being.
It is technically throughout the whole film, because you always go back to him watching, De Niro on the telly and with his mum and that.
Yeah.
For me, it's so important because of the very fact that it highlights mental health. And we see it from the Joker's perspective. Yeah. It was told really well. And you were uncomfortable, which was the point. And the fact that governments are ignoring mental health sufferers, and he wouldn't have done any of this shit if he had the right support. And I think he kind of mentioned that at the time anyway. So
it's great that what also I like about this film is that it's not the Joker of the comic books. He was very clear to make out that this is a guy who might inspire the real Joker who might appear in this universe that they've created. It's
But of course, all of that has shifted slightly now that everyone loves it. They want a sequel. Apparently, they're going to be doing a sequel. So
I don't know if they actually will go through with it personally, but I hope they don't. Just because purely it doesn't need it.
No, it doesn't.
It's a pretty standalone.
But if they do, what I did hear, and this is the only thing I'm actually excited for. If they did, they mentioned it to a wonderful actor, Willem Dafoe, and he said he'd love to be the guy who's inspired by Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and then he pretends to be the Joker himself. But he says, I don't want to be the Joker, but I want to be a guy who's inspired, and because I've kind of got my own play if I was to do it. I want to do it a certain way, and I think for me, he's the only actor.
He has the looks.
Yeah, he's the only actor. He
look.
doesn't really need much makeup. You
No.
know, he's amazing actor in his own right, and I personally would love it if he was to play a Joker.
I would love him to embrace the comic book version of Joker more than anything else, because the comic book Joker is a showman. He'd appear on stage. He was a magician, I think, originally. In there's a lot of portrayals about him being a magician with cards and tricks and stuff. You didn't know whether he was going to, perform a trick for you or slice your head off, cut your throat or something. And that was the fear about the Joker initially, was that you didn't know what he was going to do. And I think Willem Dafoe would just bring that type of character to life brilliantly, I think.
Absolutely.
Brilliantly. So, lastly, well, did we talk about... No, we started talking about the Batman. Who wants to take it away? I've got my own opinion about it, but I've been full on, so I'll let someone else talk.
Okay, yeah, the Batman. It's this is a callback to the classic Batman story, detective Batman in a noir setting, very noir setting, and it kind of goes back a little bit to. It's kind of, I think it's a mix between The Dark Knight and Burton's Batman in terms of you've got this real looking city, but it's got that gothic look of the Burton era. And this is like Batman I think it's his second year as Batman, I think it is.
Yeah, it's very early doors Batman, yeah.
And you've got Robert Patterson as Bruce Wayne Batman, you've got Andy Serkis as Alfred. Greg Paul Dano, he plays
it's a terrific cast.
Yeah, he plays the
Good
Riddler.
actors.
I think they've changed his name to Edward Nashton. He's Edward Nigma in the
Oh, the
comics.
Riddler is...
But he's Edward Nashton in
Nashton,
this particular
right.
in this particular instance, and obviously you've got Colin Farrell under a lot of makeup.
Oh, he's terrific.
Yeah. He actually looks like the actor who plays the Mayor of Gotham in Gotham, the TV series.
He's playing
weird.
the Penguin.
And he's playing Oswald Cobblepot, aka Penguin. And you've got
Zoe Kravitz.
Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle.
The Catwoman. Another Catwoman and the great Jeffrey Wright as Commissioner Gordon.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah. No, he's great. I mean,
Yeah.
you add Jeffrey Wright
great.
to any project, for me, it just adds you're in good hands, acting wise.
Yeah, he's he's great. He works really well. Because obviously Commissioner Gordon, you've had
Pat Hingle.
You have Pat Hingle in the Burton era. You had great Gary Oldman in the Nolan films.
Yeah.
And now you've got
Jeffrey Wright.
Of course, I'm forgetting you had J.K. Simmons. You had J.K. Simmons portray him in the Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was in Batman vs Superman.
It might have been.
But he had a very small role, unfortunately. They didn't utilise him as nearly enough as they should have, because he's an Oscar-winning actor. So
he's a quality actor.
They should have given him a lot more to do.
Yeah.
The Batman. It's a 3-hour film. It's essentially a 3-hour film.
This is probably the longest one to date.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I think they could have trimmed maybe 20 minutes out of it.
Yeah, I think so.
They could have easily taken 20 minutes out of this. But it's Detective Batman. They bring in a lot of interesting takes on how he can view things.
And you hear his inner thoughts, narration.
Yeah, exactly. That harkens back to the detective noir feel of it, or Mike Hammer kind of serial kind of stuff.
Yeah, how it was originally in the comic books.
So a bit like Sin City when you've got them talking.
Yeah, that's kind of the other thing it reminded me of was
Sin
that.
City. Another great film.
Elements.
Sequel not so much, but yeah, Sin City.
And then you had the return of the constant rain and the nighttime and the darkness and lights flashing.
Yeah.
And
there's not a lot of daytime scenes in this film.
No.
I mean, you've probably got about 2 hours 45 minutes of nighttime and about 15 minutes of daytime.
Yeah.
Which is it's a good ratio.
Even then, it's nighttime.
Even then, it's still like overcast.
But Robert Patterson Batman, did you think he did a good job?
I was
skeptical.
Very skeptical because obviously everyone thinks he's just him from Twilight. But in all fairness, he's come a long way since doing it.
I think
he's come leaps and bounds.
I haven't seen Twilight, but
yeah.
I think he's.
You can't talk to him about Twilight. He won't talk about it, which is just fair enough. He did it for the money.
Yeah.
And as an actor, you got to start somewhere. You can't just jump into the big stuff.
I've seen him in quite a few films. He's in a lot of dark Cronenberg films, and The Lighthouse. He was amazing.
Just to see.
He's very good. I'll give you that.
He's very versatile actor. I've seen him in this The High Life. He was in this French film, which is a very dark science fiction French film.
I will say I don't think he's found his feet yet as Batman.
But he fits with it because he's still early.
But yeah, exactly.
For
but
the character.
That's how the reason I accept him is the fact he's only finding.
He's year 2. Batman.
He's year 2, so he's obviously still trying to work his way into.
Yeah.
Obviously, people know who Batman is.
Sure.
And obviously, you got that relationship building up between him and Jeffrey Wright's Commissioner Gordon.
Right.
Which, so yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I quite enjoyed the Batman.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed it. Me personally, I saw it in IMAX. I enjoyed it. I think it's visually
great.
sumptuous.
I mean the Batmobile sequence.
Yeah,
that works really well in IMAX.
That was really good.
I've got the track of that on my phone. That's one of my one of my go-to musical tracks to listen to.
It's visually good. The action's good. I'm with you on the length. It could have been shorter, but for what it was, for setting up its own thing, it's a world away from Justice League. It's a world away from
setting its complete own universe. Even away from Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Yeah,
it's a different universe completely.
The only problem with everything we've talked about is none of it's been consistent.
Yeah, there's a lot of inconsistencies.
There's a lot of rebooting and a lot of recasting and a lot of jigging about.
Yeah,
they still haven't quite found this is the formula sort of thing, whether they're sort of sticking to. But it's open to interpretation,
That's the thing. That's the thing with any kind of comic book story.
Yeah.
There's so many different stories you tell with these characters. You've obviously got to stick to origins, which Batman didn't go into. The Batman didn't go into because they didn't need to.
Yeah.
We know how he became.
Exactly.
We know
the last thing we would have needed was another origin story.
We know his parents got shot in an alleyway.
Yeah. That's been done to death.
So we didn't need that. I mean, that's something, as I've said, I'll credit the Spider-Man films with. For Marvel, they don't really go into the whole Spider-Man bite. They don't really go into the whole Uncle Ben death. They don't need to. We've seen all this before.
Done to death. Yeah.
So I'll give Matt Reeves credit for that. He didn't give us another 10 minutes of by the way, this is how he became Batman.
No, it's good. So over to you, Peter.
I fucking hated it. Sorry, I just thought it was the wokest pile of shit I've ever seen. I obviously not bashing on any of your tastes, but I just it was all wrong, mate. The casting was wrong. It was shot. The DOP was really good. I'll give the cinematography its dues because it was really, really good. Bit too dark in places where it didn't need to be dark. But I guess my big problem with it was just the casting, really. I didn't think any of them worked in any of the roles at all. I didn't, I love Andy Serkis to pieces, but I didn't think he worked. I didn't like Catwoman.
Zoe Kravitz.
I just like she pulls out one line in this one scene where it's her and the Batman, and they're on some rooftop somewhere, and it's supposed to be this romantic scene, and she comes out and says, "I want to get rid of all the rich white privileged pricks in Gotham," or something. I was like, whoa. I just thought, fuck you, basically. I hated it, and I want my 3 hours back, to be quite honest. But I tell you something though, kudos for the effort and all that kind of thing, but in trying to reach a new audience in terms of that, it was a nice attempt, but no, it suffers from current political agendas, I think, and you can't do that. So that was my take on that. But as a character, Batman, is always going to be there, like Superman. He's always going to be a staple of that sort of fantasy comic book style, and these types of characters are never really going to go away. So
there'll be more Batman films to come.
There's going to be loads more. This is certainly not the last time we've seen Superman or Batman.
I know they're looking to make a follow-up to the Batman, but I'm sure there'll be another Batman story at some point with a different Batman and different actors and an approach to it.
But that's gonna, that really sort of wraps it up. We did just want this to be a sort of a fairly brief podcast because we wanted to talk about how we feel about our Batman, the Batman franchise and stuff. So let's round off with who we think are our favourites. Who's the best Batman, Mark, in your opinion?
Personally, Michael Keaton for me.
Okay, Alan?
God, why are you asking me this?
Say what you feel.
Say what you feel.
Christian Bale.
Christian Bale, okay. I'm going to go with, it is a very, Keaton.
Yeah.
It's got to be Keaton.
The only reason I say Keaton is obviously when I saw it, I was, it hit me the most because it was the first time I'd seen, Batman. There wasn't Adam West. So something completely different, and he was the only time where like his character Bruce Wayne and Batman, like he looked crazy enough to be someone who dresses up in this costume at night. A highlight scene being, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
Yeah, let's get nuts.
Because he looked at that moment more crazy than the Joker.
Yeah.
So I think, and he captured that for me. He's got that extra bit that the others don't have. I'm not just in any of the other actors.
No, but you're right. He had that kind of insecure type of,
unbalanced,
unstable, element to him.
That's what pushes it to that edge. But favorite
Joker.
Yeah.
It is a close call between Jack Nicholson and Mark Hamill. I know we've not seen Mark Hamill physically, but his voice acting is just by far the best iteration of Joker there's ever been in my book. But on screen wise, it's Jack Nicholson. Yeah. Alan? Come on, say it. You want to say it.
It's Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
I'm not taking away from Jack Nicholson because he's amazing. Jack Nicholson is amazing.
It's only your personal opinion.
Yeah. Nicholson looked the Joker. He looked like the Joker. Ledger had the mentality. And the mentality in this particular universe is what I went with.
Okay, cool. Mark?
Jack, definitely.
Jack.
Yeah.
Is it worth talking about? I mean, like, the Two-Face, there's no real iteration that stood out to me apart from Tommy Lee Jones's, just for the caricature and
he was really a cartoon, wasn't he? A living cartoon, Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah. I mean, if we're going to the other characters, the Riddler I'd choose would still be Frank Gorshin.
Yeah.
Yeah, the TV.
The original 60s one.
Yeah, I love Jim Carrey, don't get me wrong. I love Paul Dano, I think he's a good actor.
There was a type to that character that he
Frank
did really
Gorshin
well.
for me he's just got that extra. He looked more, again, a bit like Keaton as Batman. He looked deranged enough to be this person. He carried that insanity coming across on screen,
especially to run around in like a green little
the little leotard,
with a little cummerbund.
Yeah, he was. He showed everything.
do the love.
Batman. I know the perfect victim.
Yeah, just absolutely insane.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That'd be my Riddler.
But I know. Yeah, I agree. Frank Gorshin for me.
Yeah,
I agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, Jim Carrey. He was a product of the '90s. He was on fire and he was great. Paul Dano, I loved him. As a Joker, he had that kind of Scorpio kind of killer.
Yeah.
Think of Dirty Harry going.
Yeah, and the Zodiac.
The first shot, and the first shot in the film is obviously him breathing through the scope.
Yeah.
But yeah, Frank Gorshin, he embodied the Riddler for me.
Yeah.
And I like he was great. He's manic.
Pete?
I think Jim Carrey, to be honest with you.
That's alright.
Just because I don't know whether it's because of his physical presence or I don't know, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. Actually, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Jim Carrey played it for laughs.
Yeah. He knew exactly what he was doing, so you know.
Alrighty then.
All right. Well, that's it, everyone. It's not really worth mentioning anyone else.
No
to be quite
Catwoman.
honest. No, they're all shit. No, I'm very.
Well, I'm going to say Michelle Pfeiffer just for purely
nostalgia
personal reasons.
Yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Private, personal reasons.
Yeah. Thank you.
But everyone has their favourites, and we're not knocking on any of them. We respect each other's opinion to the fullest, and it wouldn't be fun if we had all the same opinion, would it? So
yeah, that'd be pretty boring.
Yeah, it would. All right, everyone. We'll see you on the next podcast. Don't miss out. Subscribe and click the bell and all that kind of bullshittery. And we'll see you next time. Say goodbye, lads.
Bye, lads.
Goodbye.
No, I'll do it again.
It's fine.
What's the Batman type thing ending?
Bedtime Road and Stockton Radio.
To the Batmobile.
All right, yeah, laters, everyone.